Welcome to Open Studio. I'm Yaz Blanks, and today Jack sits down with Lee Weaver, co-founder of OneMay, a studio focused on creating what he describes as unfair advantages for ambitious brands. In this episode, Jack and Lee discuss the realities of design education, the importance of process and industry experience, and the lessons that come from building a long-term creative career. This is Open Studio with Lee Weaver.
So welcome to Open Studio. I'm Jack Trotman, and today with me is Lee Weaver. Hi, Lee.
Hi, how you doing, Jack?
Hey, so co-founder of OneMay, brand design studio based in Liverpool, creating what you describe as, I love this, unfair advantages for ambitious brands. I think that's a really interesting statement. Do you find your clients are sort of drawn to you just based on that alone?
Maybe not so much, but I hope that they're left feeling that way. So I think it's something that we try to kind of instill in our clients, is that's what we're trying to do. And, we'll touch on it a little bit later on, but I think everything we do is to try and create a competitive edge for our clients. So we just felt like that summed it up really well in terms of our approach.
Yeah, I think it's really important in this day and age to have something to say and like stand behind the statement. And, I think probably the right people come to you, and it helps you kind of like filter that a little bit. I know you've been in the industry for over 15 years. Your CV is awesome. Starting out as an intern at Vogue, which is either the best or one of the most intimidating places to begin, right? I guess it's like getting in at the deep end. So, you built your way up through different senior roles, and then you went on your own in 2022.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So Lee,
feels like yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. I bet it does. But it's great to have you here. Just before we started recording, we were talking about, if you think about 2022, there'll be students finishing university now that may have even started, not so long after that. So even though, like you said, it probably feels like yesterday, but a lot has happened in the industry since then.
It has.
So 4 years in, how's it going? Honestly, how's OneMay?
Really well. It's been, like I say, it feels like yesterday. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind. But I think when I look back at kind of what we've achieved and how things have changed since we started, it's better than we could have imagined, I suppose. It started out between me and the co-founder, Martin, who we actually met about 15 years ago working for another studio. Kind of just really had a connection in the way that we work and the way that we think about design. And we kind of always said that we would do something together. So, jumped off in 2022. We've been joined by a couple of team members since then. So, building a team and building a client base, doing more interesting work. So, we started out quite locally. Now we're working with clients all over the world, from kind of small startups, like consumer brands, right through to kind of huge global organizations. So, it's been a bit of a ride, but one that I've thoroughly enjoyed.
Are you finding yourself getting stuck in on the tools still, Lee, or what's your sort of role at the moment?
Yeah, that's very much the intention, is to stay that way. So we've kind of, from the outset, we had a conversation between me and Martin about how we kind of wanted this to grow long term. And I think we decided that we wanted to stay small enough that we could always be involved in the work, because we kind of didn't start this to be managers, essentially. So, we're both passionate creators. We've got a bit of a different approach. I'm a little bit more strategic in the way I work than Martin is. He's more purely design. But the intention is always to kind of stay hands-on, and that is how we work today.
So that strategic approach that you just mentioned, is that something that you've always felt like you've had from the beginning of your career?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So when I was in college, there was kind of two subjects that I excelled at. One of them was business studies and one was design. And up until almost the last moment, I was never quite sure which route I was going to go down. So the kind of tutors in both courses were both pushing me to go either to business school or study design. And it was really just down to a decision of what kind of lit me up the most in the end. I thought, well, I'm good at both, but this is the one where I find I'm most passionate about and really enjoy. So I kind of always had that kind of commercial sense. But I think it's probably more as my kind of career went on and I started doing a lot more pitch work and got involved in strategy, that's when it started to kind of become more fundamental to the work that I actually produce myself. I think it's just a mixture of both, of something, a natural kind of instinct, and also kind of work I've been involved in.
So, like, going back to Lee when he's just sort of, you graduated at was it Carmel College, right?
Yeah.
And what led you to apply for for Salford to do graphic design. What was at that point in time? What were your other options?
Well, obviously other universities or other kind of institutions, but I think the reason why I ended up at Salford was at the time there was a pilot scheme at my at Carmel College whereby you could skip the foundation year if you had a solid idea what creative discipline you wanted to do. Obviously, I understand the foundation year is really good if you're kind of not quite sure which route you want to go, but I was quite clear that it was kind of communications where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So it gave me the opportunity to skip that year, essentially, and just start straight into year one of the degree. So it felt like a bit of a shortcut at the time, and I could kind of, speed up the process towards becoming a paid graphic designer. So so that was the reason at the time. It was a good decision because I had a really good relationship with the tutors at Carmel. They were the ones who delivered the first year of the course. So it kind of, it just felt like a natural place to be, and it was kind of continuing my college studies rather than starting somewhere new. So it was just the right decision at the right time for me.
And I think, based on that, and based on you coming from the business and design perspective, there's been some things coming out recently online around kind of questioning design education for what it stands for, I suppose. And I saw a really interesting article from It's Nice That recently that was basically questioning, is design education, has it lost its way? Why are people studying design? And it's the kind of article that sort of, you're either this or you're that. You got to choose your side. So a lot of people in the, a lot of the comment section creeps, I like to call them, saying, no, doing education shouldn't be about entering the job market. It should be about other things. It should be about exploring and theory and things like that. Do you have a perspective on that? Why do you think people should study design? Do you think they should is that still a thing they should be studying? Do you have anything you'd recommend to anyone that's looking to either get a career or to get something different? Where's your perspective on that?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think obviously there's more than one way in. I think even just in my business, Martin, my co-founder, he didn't study design. He's kind of self-taught. So, there's definitely more than one ways to go about it. But I think, and it's been a long time since I studied as well, so I can only really speak about my own experience. But I think I didn't ever expect to be kind of taught creativity. I think what university gave me was a platform and the space to kind of learn and experiment and to get feedback that did help shape processes and things. But I found it really valuable just to have the kind of platform to work and to grow into some of these skills. And I don't think it did come out industry ready. I mean, I took on, as you mentioned before, I did the internship at Vogue when I left and things like that to kind of strengthen my kind of employability. But I did find it really useful. And I think without that, I don't think I'd be doing it today. So for me, I do think it's still a valid approach and something that should be kind of celebrated.
Yeah, I think my view on it is that it's easy to say that education shouldn't be about entering the market, but I think that comment comes from a place of privilege, because I think that's if you've got a family that can sort of prop you up, or if you've got I left home when I was 17 and I was art foundation course, I wanted to be an illustrator. Teacher was like, do you want a job? I was like, yes. They were like, do graphic design. I was like, cool. And then obviously university was, in my mind, free because of, getting a student loan and stuff. So it just felt like a no-brainer, right? But the intention was always to get a job. I left university without any of the skills to get a job. And I feel like I blagged my way into my first job just because just before the interview, I'd been like, what does CMYK stand for again? And that was one of the questions. And I was like, nailed it. Couldn't actually use InDesign. Didn't know how to set up grids. So that was interesting.
I think, you just reminded me of quite a funny story. So when I mentioned before, I got the internship at Vogue magazine.
Yeah, how did that happen? Yeah.
So there was, I think the story goes that the tutor that I had at the time, Pete Frost, who's probably one of the main influences in me getting into design and sticking with it in them early stages, because there was a few times that I wasn't sure if I'd made the right choice and I was considering going into the job market and things like that. And he kind of really kept me focused. He is somehow related to Lisa Eldridge, the makeup artist. She's quite a famous makeup artist, but she's married to Robin Derrick, who at the time was the creative director of Vogue.
Right.
And also Giorgio Armani. And so it was through a connection that he had that they were offering these placements out to kind of northern students, which I think probably wasn't the norm. I think a lot of the London colleges were sending students there.
Yeah.
And so I applied, and I don't think at the time I hadn't kind of grown up too much at this stage, and I wasn't probably the model student.
And
actually, he's kind of,
don't worry about it.
He's confessed this to me since then, because I've stayed in contact, and I'm actually still going to visit the college when I get a chance to speak to their students. And he told me that at the time when I applied for it, he thought I had no chance, and that wouldn't be the one. And so I'd done some research before the interview about the kind of opportunity and the company, and, you know, tried to get a little bit below the surface of it so that I looked kind of knowledgeable, but not as much as I probably should have. And when I was outside the room waiting for my interview, somebody had left their notes behind. And just before the interview, I kind of went through them. And so when I was chosen, like one out of like 30 students who had applied, he kind of told me, like, we were really impressed with like the depth of knowledge you had and how much research you'd done. And it was only because I'd kind of just before done a skim read of something that somebody else had done, which is probably a little bit bad. But yeah, that's kind of how that came about.
Yeah, you say that though, but that person who made those notes didn't get the role, so it was probably more than that. It was you as well. But yeah, it's almost like you could have said, yeah, who does this notebook belong to? We need to be a creative partnership. You know?
Well, at the time, I mean, it's not the first time I've admitted it, but it's not something I offer up freely all the time. So I kind of didn't want to be caught out, so I never mentioned it. But yeah, that's how that happened.
Yeah, but so much of getting your first job is absolutely through circumstance.
100%. Yeah,
I get, like, we talked about that sort of like privilege thing as well. And second design job I had, because my dad was a head teacher. Second design job I had, I went to the interview, and halfway through the interview, the managing director was like, "Oh, hang on, is your dad a teacher?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, he taught my brother." I was like, "Oh, cool." And I don't know whether that had like sway in it, but I feel like maybe it just made you stand out a bit. Like it's that's
something to remember,
a memorable thing. Yeah.
And
I didn't tell my dad about that until after I'd got the job, and he was like, "Oh, you should have said, like, I could have told you all about like that kid and stuff." I was like, "Yeah, but I didn't want that to be, I didn't want that to sway it." Yeah, but yeah, you know, like I think with your journey and like where you ended up and where you are now, you know, you talked about strategy, and you talked about there's always going to be moments along the way that are kind of unexpected moments that get you to the next place and those sorts of things. But through all of this, there's probably something in you that makes you feel confident in your creativity. Like, because any business that pays for an agency is paying for you because of the fact that you can do something that they can't. And often that comes through a different way of seeing things. Sometimes it's just time. Sometimes it's just like, we wish we could do this, but we can't, so we have to pay someone else to do this. But just on that theme of creativity, what do you think makes somebody creative? And are we right in saying that all designers have to be sort of creative?
Well, I think it's I suppose it's quite difficult to pin down a very specific definition of creative, isn't it? Because people do take kind of different approaches to it and work in different ways. And it's like in my business that, like, me and Martin, we're obviously both creative directors, but we have a very different approach. So kind of the way Martin works is a lot more kind of intuitive and kind of taste led than the way I work. I'm a lot more kind of analytical and kind of logical in my approach. I think ultimately it's being able to kind of pull references, you know, have a wide kind of vocabulary of references you can pull on and kind of answer briefs in interesting ways and kind of just see things that other people don't see. I think that's often what our kind of clients come to us for, is, you know, they have a challenge or they have an audience they need to reach and they don't quite know how to do it. And I think our job then is to be able to kind of do that for them. I think that's the work that OneMay do most, is kind of helping clients reach their audience in compelling ways. And I think that's how I would probably define our creativity. It's not necessarily about visuals or the kind of, you know, just the output. It's about the way we think about things and the way we can see a challenge differently than they do.
See, that's something that I think can put, when people don't see it that way and they see it a different way, that can put people off even pursuing like a career in design. Because I have so many people that come to me and say, like, I can't draw, or like I was crap at art, or like I'm more of a scientist or whatever. But it is really interesting, especially with what we do at Shillington, right? We, like, the whole model is that you can come and study design with any background. Like, you don't have to apply with a portfolio. It's just like we just want you to come literally as who you are, and that's what's going to make you like an interesting designer at the end of it.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for somebody that is questioning it as a potential future for themselves? Like, what do you think they need to really consider about themselves? Like, what advice would you give them if they were kind of umming and ahhing at this point in time?
Well, I think to your point there, the first bit of advice I'd say would be to drop this, misconception that there needs to be the obvious things or the cliche things like drawing or kind of visual skills, because there's a lot more ways to be creative. Obviously come up with ideas is creative, messaging is creative. So there's lots of different routes in, or, I think it'd be about finding your passion within the field and like looking at the wide range of roles that there is, and not to be put off by, what you think is creative, but also it's difficult to teach someone this early on the stage because I think it's something you learn with experience. But I know that certainly early on in my career, you see some of the work that's being done, and you know what's good, and or you might know what's good and what isn't, but you just got no idea how to get there. But I think just recognizing that it's a process, and just being willing to stick with it and learn and grow as you go, and not trying to jump too far or kind of focus on the gap between you and the designers you admire. I think that's something that can often put people off, is when you just don't see how you're ever going to be as good as the work that you see and stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like your perspective on it is obviously like changed throughout your career. I mean, even thinking about when you started OneMay as to maybe how you see it now, you've obviously seen it through different sides. How do you think you work best then as a studio? Do you enjoy working under tight deadlines and pressure? Like, how do you prefer it, or does it change? Like, what is that?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, we're well versed in tight deadlines. We do get them a lot. We work with a lot of FMCG brands, so often we jump into kind of like deadlines that retailers force to get new products on shelves, and so we do deal with it quite a lot. Obviously, prefer not to work to a tight deadline. I think the more breathing space you have to think and really kind of break the problem down and experiment, I think that's really important. I think the best way we work is when we've got like a clear brief, but also an element of creative freedom, so we can, really push things and do things that are a little bit different. And thankfully, most of our clients give us that. I think that's why they work with us. A lot of our work comes through pictures as well. So I know it's a hot topic, and a lot of studios don't like to be involved, but we actually really do.
Yeah. And how do you typically learn that there's a pitch?
Well, we're on most of the pitches that we enter. They're not public forums. They're the kind of curated list of studios that they go to. So the kind of repeat clients that we've worked with before. I think one of the reasons that we like working on them is that we are quite a small team, and often we kind of beat much bigger agencies. So not only is that kind of validating, and it feels good to be able to kind of be the David and Goliath scenario, but it's also gives us kind of opportunity to work on brands and projects that we probably wouldn't if it was just in the open market. So. But I think that really lights us up when we've got like a clear, because obviously with the pitch, it comes with quite a detailed spec, and it gives us a chance to really kind of think about the project and deliver something that is really well thought through.
Is a pitch typically a one-time thing? Do you have different stages of different presentations that you typically have to do to get that job?
Yeah, it varies by client. Some of our clients is one pitch. You deliver the pitch. Obviously, it's quite a huge pitch. It's often like a multi-phased campaign, or it can be a pitch for a piece of work that will last for over a year. So it's a really big piece of work. But sometimes that is just we deliver that once and you win the contract, and then obviously it stages then within that as you deliver the work. Other clients give us a pitch and it's in a shortlist process. So then you have to re-pitch in person potentially. That's something that we often do.
Similar story to your like waiting for an interview and seeing the notes story. You just made me think of a pitch that we won. This is like this is probably back in like 2014 or 15, and it was like a really large like residential property developer, because at that time there was a lot of like work in that kind of thing, because obviously a lot of people were building houses and stuff, and we were waiting in a waiting room. It's like me and creative director and design director, and I was just like a designer at the time, and we were sat opposite the other studio that were pitching. They were like a really big studio in Leeds, and we were like a relatively small but like decent sized studio, and we watched their faces coming out of the pitch looking a bit dejected. I was like, they haven't maybe nailed that. And also I could see like the work that because they'd like got boards and this is back in the day where you'd like spray mount shit on boards and I could see the work that they'd done, and I just remember thinking really clearly, like I saw what it was, and there was like this big like illustrative element, and it was like illustrations and stuff, and I was like, shit, we've actually got some illustrations like that in our pitch. And I just turned to like the creative director and I was like, let's not show those last ones. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, trust me. And and lo and behold, in the pitch, the feedback they gave us was like, we loved the fact that you led with like images and people and like real stories and stuff, because we wanted to like show the actual like feeling. We didn't want a kind of weird kind of conceptual illustrative approach. We were like, oh yeah, of course. Even though I think the brief that they'd given us had kind of led us and that other studio to an illustrative approach. I'm pretty sure it even said in there, like, you know, we're looking for like world building, something that isn't whatever. So it's funny, isn't it? I think it just goes back to that whole thing of when you're a designer and when you're trying to understand what really makes a good designer or a designer who's got lots of potential. It's looking, seeing, and then reacting to what you're looking and seeing, isn't it? It's just not being passive and just really thinking about what that means. I got a couple more things I want to touch on, just because I think there's interesting things that, you know, anyone that's new to design or anyone that's thinking about design just could really learn from you. And I would just say on inspiration, I'm kind of interested because it can be hard sometimes to know where to start. And you talked about short deadlines and like trying to come up with an idea with like not much time. In your process then, if you're starting a brief, what is the beginning of your process and how do you show the potential visual direction? Like what kinds of references are you pulling? Like where does that sort of start?
Yeah, well, it's again really interesting, as I mentioned before, about the kind of difference in the way that I work to the co-founder. So I'm very kind of I'm kind of very word led. So I have to write the problem down and think about the kind of word, not like in a word map way, but almost just like think about the kind of like map out the parameters in words. And that's kind of how I think, and quite logical with that. And it's quite structured and almost like one-page strategy led, where I think about these are the kind of things this idea needs to solve. And that then kind of just intuitively shapes the kind of visual direction for me. I kind of, just through experience, know what kind of visual styles are going to work with the kind of work that we need to produce. Whereas Martin, my co-founder, is a lot more visual and a lot more kind of instinctive. He will jump. Again, it's obviously backed by understanding the kind of work we're doing. It's not random, but I think he just has an idea of the approach we need to take, or, you know, the audience we're speaking to, and finds things that are relevant. You know, if we're speaking to a young audience, for example, I think he just looks for kind of work that is speaking to them already, just to kind of embed himself in that world. And I think things start to emerge when you do that. I think a lot of it's pattern recognition. You start to see the things that work, and it's not about kind of taking that as it is and verbatim or copying anything, but it's just like understanding the kind of colors that are working, the styles of typography, the kind of the compositions, whether they're quite restrained or expressive, depending on obviously the audience. And I think there's different ways of doing it, and it touches on what I said before about, you know, if you're not naturally a visual person, maybe you're someone who thinks in words, that I think there's still a space in the creative process for people who think like that.
Definitely. Are you guys when you're working on a packaging project, are you printing things off physically and sort of visualizing them on a shelf? Is there that level of kind of is there enough time to even do stuff like that? Or
we do. We don't necessarily print them, especially because we're remote. So obviously we're all working we're all in different locations. So individuals might print things off if they want to. Yeah. But I think we do visualize things. So we have, say for example, it's going to be a shelf. We'll put them on the shelf. We'll mock it up and make sure we know it's going to work. Yeah. There's usually enough time for that. I mean, sometimes we do get, like just this morning. In fact, obviously I'm not working on it because I'm chatting to you, but got a briefing this morning for an advert that needs to go out this afternoon. So but they're not these kind of jobs that we get. They don't tend to be things that need like lots of versions, or, you know, it'll be something we've done before, be updates or something. Or so the more creative jobs where we are kind of developing new packaging, we will usually have time to kind of mock them up and kind of imagine them in context. And but another thing that with packaging specifically, because you mentioned that, a lot of our clients kind of, we'll do several concepts and they take them to consumer testing and things. So the brands that we work with are quite diligent in making sure that the work works and things. And we appreciate that because obviously that's our aim, is to produce work that does what it's intended to do. So
if you're looking at a new designer's portfolio and they're applying for either a job with you or you're, maybe they're looking for a freelance gig with you or something, what advice do you have to them for their portfolio and how they show a project or show their work? Like, what do you really want to see?
Yeah, I really like to see the process, because I think more than ever today, I think the amount of mockups that are available, it's really easy to make work that looks good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't prove a lot, because, you can put average work on a good mockup and it can look commercially ready. So actually, I much prefer to see the process and the thinking, even if the work doesn't necessarily look as good as it could do, or, there may be things that we would change, obviously. But I'm much more interested to see how they reached that work and how they thought about it and why they think it works, and just, understand how they approach the project more so than just the final piece. I think that's really important.
Can I show you really quickly just an example of one of our students? I just wanted to show you process-wise. But like how we teach our course is we have like 3 different modules, and like the last one is basically them building their portfolio. So they're like revisiting their projects and stuff like that. And all of our working files and the way we give feedback, it's all on Figma. So the good thing about that is you can literally like track the feedback journey. And the thing that I think a lot of our students reflect on afterwards is like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I could make so much in such a short amount of time. And that's because everything is there. Like, we're encouraging to just like chuck it all on there because we can talk about it. And there's stuff like that they maybe haven't even realized is potentially good stuff that they maybe like overlook. As a result of that, it means that some of these Figma files can take a little bit of time to open. But I just wanted to show you because I think it would be interesting to know if what they're doing is like similar to how you guys are working, or if that's something that...
well, the way you just described it feels like how... So when we start to pitch, for example, that is what we do. We kind of don't throw anything away as we're going. We keep an artboard with kind of everything on. Because as you say, even now, 15 years in, and with the experience that we've got, it's like sometimes you go away from something for the day and you come back and you realize there was something else that you were working on that was probably, had greater potential. So definitely kind of marries up to the way that we do things.
I just remember like one student in particular that I just finished, who just graduated. Every single one of her files, it's just like it's like starts here, it's like, and then there's like, and then it goes in, and then it goes out again, and I think that's for me, seeing I would rather see somebody's working file than somebody's portfolio, and I know that's actually very difficult because everyone asks for portfolios.
But just to say, just on description alone, I think it's exactly how we work. I think it's useful to keep all that, but definitely from like a junior designer or someone new to the market, I think that's much more vital to see how they think than the final piece. It's like I say, especially like when I was coming through, these mockups weren't available, so it was a little bit different. But now I think it's so easy to just put something average on a glitzy mock-up and make it look like it's good. But
also like new designers get excited by mock-ups. They just the fact that they can kind of like put something on a mock-up, they go like, oh wow, that's amazing. But like, look, even just when you zoom out of this, you're going right, iteration, variation. Like, you're not just like a one-hit wonder. You're like, you can just literally see like the thought process behind how you're testing all this stuff out, and just like trying to get a sense of visual language and things like that.
It's very similar to how like the designers in my team, it's very similar to how they present their initial ideas to me and Martin when they're sharing early stages work. It's pretty much identical to this.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's good to know, because I think like the whole point of this is just for us to get them working in a way that we know is going to help them show their value. And the other thing with all this is that none of it's in secret, so every single student can see each other's files.
I think that's important as well. I think that's very important, because I think that culture of kind of being open to sharing early work is vital. There's nothing worse than when a designer kind of sits on top of something and doesn't share, and then you get so far down a path and it's not quite right, and and then it feels harder to change it because they're so invested in what they've done. I think that culture of kind of sharing early and being open and not not worrying about what people say back and not taking it to heart is really kind of vital to.
I think there's a lot of creative directors out there that are too afraid to show their early ideas. I think there's a lot of people who are like quite far on in their career that still haven't broken that barrier.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it just comes from relationships, like knowing that person. I think the sooner you can overshare and let your guard down, the sooner you can give and receive feedback in a way that's not felt as like
an attack.
Exactly. Yeah. And also like that moment that a new designer comes to you and says, it doesn't just say, what do you think? They say, here's what I've done. I'm actually looking for some feedback on the type pairing or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, great, cool. I will then, right?
I also think it's to that point, because I've experienced this myself in my career. I think it's important when a designer does that you give them feedback on the thing that they've asked, because I've found it in the past, in my experience, when, there might be 5 things that you're thinking about: art direction, color palettes, typography, and you're aware that the color palette's not quite right yet, but you focus on one thing and you ask for feedback on that, and you start getting picked apart on the colors when it's not what you were going for. And I think that can make people reluctant then to go back and say. Yeah. So I think it's as well as like the younger designers or newer designers being open to sharing. I think creative directors need to focus on what they've been asked as well as just rather than.
So the advice goes both ways. So I'm now kind of using the term new designer than I am junior designer. Yeah. And the reason I'm doing that, I mean, it's just semantics, whatever. But it's just because, just junior just makes you think that you're like, you have to be young or you have to be. And And I just feel like, what does that even mean? And can't you just start as a designer?
Yeah.
That's what you are.
Yeah. That's true.
Who knows? That might change soon. But they always say that the next 5 years, all the roles that are here now won't exist, and there'll be new ones. So we don't know, right? But I guess last question I want to leave you with then is, how are you both seeing OneMay in 5 years' time? Like, where do you want to get to? Is it consistency? Is it growth? Like, what is it?
Yeah, I think we have spoke about it, and there's no concrete answer to it, because I think one of the most exciting things has been just seeing how it grows, and letting it happen. And just, I think from a personal point of view, I think in 5 years, I just want to be as passionate about the work I'm doing as I am today. And I think one of the keys to that will be to make sure that we stay controlled and small enough that we can stay close to the work, because that is the intention. And I think something that could happen if we weren't careful is that we grow too quickly, because there are opportunities for us to do more if we wanted to, and I think that's where we'd risk growing the team too quickly and then end up being managers rather than designers, which isn't the intention. And I think we've already started I've actually changed the message on the website in the last couple of weeks to reflect what we're doing today. And I think we've got quite an even split between, we do a lot of packaging and brand for consumer brands, and we do a lot of public sector campaign work, which is a lot more interesting than it may sound.
Yeah.
And I think we've really just found, it's obviously not a niche, they're both quite big areas of work, but we've found that that's what we're really passionate about. So I think for the next 5 years, it'd just be being really intentional about trying to get more of that kind of work and growing our influence in them sectors.
Well, public sector campaign work, and even just entering that world where sometimes there's an expectation for that work to be, because it's really valuable work, but sometimes there might be an expectation for that work not to be the highest paying, all those things. But good work deserves good pay, right? Is that? And it's
we found it's been profitable. It's not. It's been really profitable. But I think it's got a nice social impact behind it. A lot of the, especially for me being from Liverpool, a lot of the work that we do, not all in Liverpool, but a lot of it is. And so being able to kind of do work across education and transport that really helps the communities that I live in is it's a great source of passion. And I've got a young daughter, and it's nice to be when we go out and there's adverts in bus stops that she's seen on the screen and here, and she says, "Oh, you did that." It's nice. And also then having the other side of things with the packaging, it's nice to see that in store, and it's just really, I think we've really found the area of work that we're all passionate about. In different measures, I think I'm more kind of campaign focused because it involves a lot of strategy, whereas Martin's background is heavily packaging based. So I think while we do all work on all the briefs, I think that's kind of how it's ended up that way. But I think just kind of not being, I think over the next 5 years, is not being pressured to kind of conform to what other people might see as how to grow an agency or where we need to be. I think there's 4 of us full time now. We work with copywriters, animators quite a lot. So I think probably would see it as a team of 6. Haven't got ambitions to go to 50 or anything like that. It's, we're kind of, So I think, just more of the same really, and to grow in the way that we have done.
How old's your daughter? Just out of interest.
She's 8. She's 8.
So when did she get what you do? Like, how old was she?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, she's very creative herself. So I think she's interested in kind of image making and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think she knows that I make designs. I don't think she understands the full scope of it.
Yeah.
But she's daddy's girl, so she often sits in here when I'm working. So she just sees things that I've done, and I say it's quite prominent locally. So, but yeah, she's taking an interest. Hopefully, one day she can join the business. But I don't know if that will happen. But
honestly, I think so. I've got 2 lads, and my 4-year-old Henry. He it made my day when he started doing this. He was going, "Could we do some designing?" I'm like, yeah. But I made the mistake of showing him like image prompting, and so now.
Oh, I've got the same thing. I mean, I can share it after this call. So she did something last week, and it was completely self-initiated. I didn't even know. I don't know where she's seen ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But she was using it on my phone, and
they'll be talking about it in school, I'm sure.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
She drew some posters of one was like a nature one about saving trees, and had herself took a photo on my phone and scanned it in and asked it to make it a proper poster.
So cool.
So it's just the workflow that an 8-year-old is just doing intuitively now compared to I think I started dial-up internet at 8. I couldn't. So it's just it's crazy.
Yeah. I think when my parents got like a 40 quid bill because I'd left the internet on all night, they were like, "What are you doing?" But yeah, my kid's designing toys on it.
Oh wow! And
then I was like, shit, we should get a 3D printer.
It's
like it could happen because
it's exciting, isn't it? As much as there's the fear of how it's going to impact the field, but it's exciting as well, isn't it? When you think about how these young people are going to be using it and where it'll be when.
Yeah, because they're using it to make stuff that's interesting, and also my hot take on. I mean, I've got a lot of hot takes on AI, but one thing I feel about image prompting is just be conscious of what's going on in the background while you're doing it, because we all know that every prompt is
environmentally damaging.
So don't try. This is just how I see it. Is I don't ever want to try and perfect something in that way. If it's just about getting a quick thing out of your head, get it out of your head, but accept that it's just going to look a bit weird until the technology progresses. And even so, it's always probably going to look a bit kind of whatever. But I just see it as an opportunity to collage. So rather than going to really old references and then cutting them out and sticking them together, just doing that to create those references and then piecing them together in Photoshop or wherever. That's how I'd rather do it, because I feel like I have gone down that rabbit hole of spending hours trying to make the perfect thing and then rinsing all your credits and being like, oh, do I need to pay more? And then I thought about it and I was like, yeah, what the hell is that even doing on the other end?
It's really interesting. We did the branding last year for an event, the Liverpool LCRCA AI Summit, and it brought together kind of Google, IBM, all massive companies, hospitals, and it was the kind of theme of the event was using AI for good. And some of the speakers at the event were talking about how they developed software that could predict a heart attack 5 years before it happened. And it seems crazy to me that the conversation on AI is dominated on image making, when it's there's so many more things they could be using it to do. And we're talking about creating social posts and turning people into animals, and it's
but also,
it seems strange.
It's probably a good thing that AI just makes all these social posts, because then people will be like, oh yeah, social media is just a bit weird, isn't it? Maybe we shouldn't go on it anymore.
That's a good point.
Good for society. I say just let it burn. We connected on LinkedIn, right? But LinkedIn for me is just full of AI hot takes, literally just people using AI to write to make them look clever. And then people responding in the comment section with AI responses.
It's
when as a human, just if you got something to say, just say it, and don't worry about looking at. I can see you've used AI to write it, so how do you want me to respond? And people complaining that people have been writing cover letters for jobs using AI, and I'm like, yeah, but I've read your job posting, and that was written
and
by
that was
AI
as well. Yeah.
So what do you want?
It's crazy, and I think it's mad how already the kind of just the human voice it stands out now, doesn't it? You spot when something's being written authentically.
Yeah,
it's so easy to see it.
Yeah,
but it's just a shame that you have to weed through so much to find it.
I know, but I think in visuals, I think a lot of designers do, but I also think in words as well. But like my recent, I'm just thinking about like lamenting the M dash. So like, because we can't use it anymore. So I've just been thinking about kind of like, you know, that feeling when you're a kid and like you drop your ice cream on the floor and it's like the worst thing that can happen, or like when you let go of a balloon, or like when your sparkler runs out. And then I was like, oh yeah, like a sparkler kind of looks like an M dash, or like I could get like a big really elongated black balloon and then like take a picture of that going into the sky, or like a flake falling off your ice cream. I was like, that looks like an M dash. So this was literally like today in the shower, and I was like, yeah, that would be fun.
Ironically, that's where, I have this conversation with Martin every morning when I have a catch-up call with Martin. I've always had an idea that I had in the shower. I don't know whether it must be a common thing.
Yeah. I mean, my shower's kind of broken at the moment, so it's either really hot or really cold. So like, there's not really that much time to think. But like, when you're kind of going like, whoa, sometimes maybe there's that sort of like stress that's put on you.
The stress of a deadline.
Exactly. You switch into like idea mode. Well, Lee, honestly, it's been really, really great chatting, and just getting your insight into some really important things for. Well, obviously we were talking a bit about important things for new designers or people studying design, but we also talked about things for people who are well into their career, who are responsible for feedback and responsible for nurturing talent, and just thinking about what their point of view is and where they stand. And that's really interesting that's come out of this chat. And I think there's a lot that we can all be sharing with each other and just being a bit more human. And if we think about AI, again, AI is never going to have the due diligence that a human might have. It's never really going to have that sense of care, because unfortunately for it can't experience the stuff that we've experienced throughout our life. It's never going to know what it feels like to drop an ice cream on the floor, is it? So yeah, we're at this like maybe big scary point in our life where we're all focusing on the wrong thing, but we absolutely should be focusing on the positives and where it could take us, and just talking to each other a bit more sometimes is also important, and not letting it talk for us.
Yeah. Well, it was definitely nicer to chat on here than it would be to sit and chat GBT for the day. So yeah, I appreciate appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and I'll take this transcript and use ChatGPT to form it into a blog post, shall I?
Top hot takes.
Hot take. All right, Lee. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Hope the ad goes well that you're creating.
Thank you very much.
Good to chat, and we'll speak soon.
Likewise. Speak soon. Cheers, Jack.
All right, so.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Huge thank you again to Jack and Lee for today's conversation. From design education and creative process to the opportunities and challenges presented by AI, Lee shared valuable insight drawn from years of industry experience and studio leadership. If you'd like to learn more about Lee and OneMay, you'll find all the relevant links in the episode description. To stay connected with us here at Shillington, head to our website and follow us across social media. And for more conversations with the people shaping the creative industry, keep up to date with Open Studio. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.